Hi everyone, Nadine Wilkins here, and I'm excited to jump on today to have a conversation about entrepreneurship. See, I've been asked time and time again, well, what do you need to do to become an entrepreneur? And one thing that I can tell you is this: before I was actually an entrepreneur on paper, there was a paradigm shift and a change in philosophy that needed to happen, because there are major differences from being an employee and also versus a business owner. So now, as you know, some of you know my story. Before starting my first business, I was working full time. I was running my first business, which is an education consulting business, part-time in the evenings. One thing I can tell you that I had to learn really quickly are these differences that I'm about to go over. So becoming an entrepreneur, more than anything else, is definitely a shift in philosophy. And one person who really talks about this concept in his book is Robert Kiyosaki in the Cashflow Quadrant. So there are 4 different ways that you can make money, right? Like when you have a job, you're an employee. When you're self-employed, you own a job, right? When you're a business owner, you own a system, people work for you, and because you have that system, your money is beginning to work for you. And as an investor, that's when your money 100% works for you. The key is you want to be able to think about a quadrant, right? Think about a box with 4 squares. Your goal is to go from the left, to jump from the left to the right as soon as possible. Now, for some people to make that shift, some people are able to do it within their first 6 months to a year. Some people within their first 2-3 years, right? Some people, it may take longer because it is a change in philosophy, and it is also a paradigm shift. So what are some of these paradigm shifts that I'm talking about? It's the mindset, right? Because when you're an employee, right, if you have a problem, right, you talk to HR, you talk to a boss, to solve that problem. Whereas when you are a business owner, right, you are it, right? You are paid to solve problems. You are paid to create a great experience for the people that you work with and for the people that work for you, right? So it's a totally different mind shift. And if I were to kind of relate that to everyday life, it is kind of like if there's a problem in the world, right? Are you going to be the person that complains about the problem, or are you going to be the person that actually gets out there to make a difference? So the biggest shift in becoming an entrepreneur, number 1, is becoming a problem solver, and also making the shift in philosophy as fast as possible. See, in order for you to also succeed as an entrepreneur, there are things that you've learned about business and also money that you will begin to see completely differently, right? So the book Cashflow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, if you've never read that book before, I'm telling you guys with full transparency, it was one of the first books, that book and also Rich Dad Poor Dad, that had me see business ownership. And I'm talking about responsible corporations, right? Corporations, business ownership on a totally different level, right? And I can tell you guys this, right? I remember reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. What's amazing, before I tell you about that, what's amazing is my 12-year-old has already read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And when he read it, he totally got the concept. I read it for the first time in college. But then I read it again, maybe about 5 years after college. And I was like, did I even read it the first time? Like, was I asleep when I read it? The amazing thing is you can read a book and be one person, and through life experiences, right, read that same book again and be like, oh my God, it's like reading it again, right? It's kind of like reading the Bible, right? You can read it and be like, okay, great. But then when you read it again, you're a different person. So you relate to the stories and the examples differently, because now you may have different goals for yourself and for your life. So definitely pick up that book. I feel like every single entrepreneur, there are 3 books you should have in your bookcase, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cashflow Quadrant, Think and Grow Rich. These are just some books that, in order for you to really begin to adopt the philosophy of being an entrepreneur. Now, do you need to read books to become an entrepreneur? Absolutely not, right? Like, you want to be in action. However, if you find yourself kind of like you're on the fence, like I want to do it, but I'm not sure, how is it going to work out? And fear is beginning to overcome you. That's when you definitely want to take the time to educate yourself to see all the advantages that are out there for you, even while you're working your full-time job, to start a business part-time, spare time around your full-time job. And I'm telling you, it will make you'll become more efficient, right? You'll become, I think, even while you're still working your full-time job and running your business, you will become a better employee because you get it, right? You will also be able to advance and also see opportunities to solve problems that may be in your job and even in your community, in your life, that you may not have seen before because you kind of took a backseat approach. But when you make that shift, that paradigm shift, and you begin to adopt the philosophy of being an entrepreneur, you're no longer sitting and waiting for someone to jump in and save you, but more of, man, how can I solve this problem? Another huge shift in becoming an entrepreneur is no longer are the days where you're literally just clocking in and getting paid just for showing up, right? As an entrepreneur, you create your check by the results, right? Like, it doesn't matter. And I have this same approach, even when it comes to parenting, right? And I have to explain to my kids, look, if you have a homework assignment, right? Now, I'm going to put it very simple, right? You have a choice. You can get it done in the allotted time that it would take you to get it done. Maybe it's about an assignment that would typically take about 20 minutes, right? But because procrastination, because they may not want to do it in that moment, because they may be distracted by something else, they can take that 20-minute assignment and stretch it out to an hour and a half and 2 hours, right? How does that relate to business? You are not paid for time. You are paid for results. You're also paid for solving problems. So those are the two concepts that I definitely wanted everyone to begin to think about, is how do you begin to take that jump from being an employee to becoming a business owner? And the first key is to, one, understand how the different ways that you can make money, right? Know that it is a shift in philosophy. It is a shift in paradigm, right? Know that as an entrepreneur, you are paid to solve problems, right? You are not paid for time. You're also paid for results. So those are some tips that I wanted to share when it comes to becoming an entrepreneur. And I'm telling you guys, it is absolutely amazing because, sometimes when you're working full time in a position where you don't have the freedom or the creative power to do the things that you want to do, as an entrepreneur, you can create your own schedule, right? You can decide what projects you want to take on, right? You have the freedom, the flexibility to create what it is you want to create, to solve what problems you feel that you can solve within the community, within your marketplace, within your business. You just have so much freedom. So I just wanted to jump on and say, guys, I'm not telling you go quit your job tomorrow, right? Like for me, when I became an entrepreneur, I was working full time. I was running my business part time. And because of that one decision, it's opened up the door for so many opportunities that at this point, when you feel like you've been blessed in so many different ways, I feel it's so important to share that information with other people, because I know it will make a difference. Because most people at the end of the day want to have the freedom to spend more time with their children. They want to create new experiences. They want the freedom to be able to have some flexibility with their schedule. They want to be able to decide where they work, right? Like, these are things that if you are sitting down and you're like, man, I just want to have more choices, right? Like, these are the things that you start to think about. And if you are that person and you want to learn more about how, while you're working full time, you can do something part time, like whatever it is. I don't care what industry you're in, whether you want to become a business owner in the real estate industry, in the finance industry, like whatever industry it is, I'd love to share more with you. I actually just created a case study that you can have access to right on my website. You can go to workwithnadine.com and you'll have access to that. But this information that I'm sharing with you guys, I'm telling you, it made a huge difference for me. And it's been an incredible ride since. So I hope this information has been helpful for you. Take care. God bless. And I look forward to connecting with you soon.